Hi friends, my name is Francisco. I'm part of the Eventify team. Eventify is event technology that empowers organizers and exhibitors turn event into memorable experiences. As you know, I'm part of the team as head of growth and ecosystem and your host today for Behind the Experience podcast. I'm really excited because today we have a special guest. It's actually one of my friends, Adam Parry, founder of Event Tech Live. I'm going to bring him in right away because I have a nice introduction that I want to embarrass him reading it right next to him. Hey, Adam, welcome to the show. Nice to have you
Hi,
today.
Francisco. Thank you for having me, mate. Thank you.
Yes, I love it. So let's share a bit of you for everyone that I'm not sure if people today are not aware of you, but totally worth it because my team put this together and I am worth totally read it. So today, Adam is joining us. That it's a name that becomes synonymous with event tech innovation and industry insight. Adam is the editor of Event Industry News, co-founder of the Event Tech Live, the leading global event connecting organizer with cutting-edge technology, and the most recently, the founder of SpeakerStacks, a lead capture tool that's changing how speakers turn audience interest into actual business pipeline. With over a decade in the event space, Adam hasn't just reported on the industry's transformation, he's been actively building it. From launching platforms that connect thousands of event professionals with the latest innovations to creating GDPR-compliant solutions that solve real problems speakers face every day. Adam has his finger on the pulse on where events have been, and more importantly, where the events are heading. Whether he's breaking news, interviewing industry leaders, or speaking at conferences around the world, Adam brings a unique perspective. He's both observer and participant, commentator and creator. That's it. Welcome, Adam. Finally.
Wow, what an interesting, what an amazing, should I say? I might have nicked that as my official bio. I think that was probably the best introduction I've ever had.
I think that it was so polished. I love it. I love it. Well, we need to go straight to the point because we aim to really take the most out of your time today. Now, to start, the first question is related to your vision across the years of the events industry. Adam, you've been covering and building in the event space for over a decade. If you have to describe the biggest shift in how attendees experience events today versus 10 years ago, what that would be?
I think the way that I would frame it is now they have options. Okay, so when I first started in the events industry, when we spoke about event technology, that kind of meant two things. It either meant registration systems, which didn't really do much apart from collect data and maybe allowed you to get your badge scanned using one of those scan pens, or event technology actually meant the audio visual side of the industry. So, LED screens, lights, gobos, those types of things. And now, event technology has moved so far on that attendees have multiple ways that they can experience both in-person events or events in a virtual or digital setting. Especially on the latter, that really didn't exist 15 years ago, other than kind of like the WebEx Cisco kind of, those webinar things that were very boring and dull and very sales focused and things like that. So attendees now have multiple options. They have multiple options of how they engage with other attendees in physical or virtual events, whether that's messaging other attendees, connecting up with other attendees. They can better understand now what content's relevant to them by better systems, both, collecting submissions for speakers, but also showcasing those sessions and what they're about. And all of those technologies are now really getting to the point where they're tightly integrated and the data can flow between them. So us as organizers can better tailor the content and the messaging and what's relevant to each attendee, hopefully giving them a better experience. Because although we like to think of events as these multi-day things, whether that's virtual or in person, most attendees don't spend all of that time at these events. Sometimes they're in and out very quickly and they need to maximize their time and investment in that show. So who do they need to see at the show in terms of other attendees? What do they need to see? And what value is it for them to walk away with? So now they have tons of options through event apps and great websites and other technologies to help them really, really maximize their time at the event.
I love this take because I I think that usually, in my case, whenever exhibitions, except the upcoming Event Tech Live that we are actually exhibitors as well, I usually manage to get time one day to be there, try to connect the dots, try to see as much like talks as possible and learn the most. But as you said, the time today is limited for event professionals, and I think that being focused or get that experience focused specifically based on what you're looking for or how you want to level up, I think that is the right strategy these days.
Yeah, and I
I love
think
that.
if I was to add to that, one of the steps that we've taken over the last couple of years is we've always really heavily invested in making sure that we capture and record all of the content that we produce at Event Tech Live, because ultimately, like, we have 4 stages of content that are happening all at the same time. So attendees are taught, like, they can't be in 4 places at once. And then on top of that, if they actually want to network with other people and have meetings and catch up with friends and colleagues, then that takes them away from that content as well. So we've always invested heavily with our partner First Sight Media in making sure that we capture all of that content and it's available on demand. But there was still a challenge around that, right? It's like, post-event, how does somebody understand from a session title and session description whether it's worth 40, 45 minutes of their time to sit there and watch that session? So a big jump for us has been a recent partnership, and through the benefits of AI, is to have a partnership with a company called Voxo, and they transcribe and summarize all of our sessions into these really, really handy PDF takeaways, which is either a deep dive or a key takeaways PDF. And we've seen actually a massive uplift in attendees post-event coming back to those, sharing those with colleagues and friends, and also then navigating back to the video content because now they can understand that that's what's of actual value to them. So, that wasn't available to us even maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. That's a brand new thing, and that's another way that I think technology is now bringing value to an audience. And hey, actually, maybe they don't want to watch all the sessions. Maybe they want to spend most of their time networking, but they still want to get the knowledge and the takeaways from the content that's on.
Yeah, I love that. Even when we recently came back from Toronto Community Week, and we use similar technology to share snippets. Like we share gallery of the photos, but we were already sharing the highlights of the sessions. So it's true. Like maybe the venue in Toronto was 120 capacity, but our subscribers are 6,000. So we want everyone to have a chance to learn and get the most out of it. In your case, the Event Tech Live is like crossing 4,000 visitors every day, roughly.
It's getting there, yeah. So we're not quite 4,000, but we have quite a large international audience. So they're traveling from lots of different places, the US, lots of different places in Europe, as far as Australia and Singapore and those kinds of things as well. So they're making huge investments in their time and effort to come to our show, and these are all ways that we want to make sure that for whatever reason, whichever way they decide to go at the event and wherever they focus their time, they never miss out on any of that content that we've curated and things like that. And ultimately, lots of people, the primary driver is to connect up with other like-minded people at that event, whether that's the exhibitors like yourself, or whether that's other speakers or other attendees and things like that. So we don't want to make them choose. So we give them the options so they can choose to just focus on the networking. They don't have to worry about missing any of that juicy content, or they can watch all of the content and, I wouldn't say miss out on the networking, but maybe choose more selectively.
Yeah, I agree. And well, this is, I would say, a core principle in enhancing the experience, right? So today, honestly, my goal is try to get the most out of an understanding of which or what enhancements have you been doing in your show. So even like maybe if this year we are bringing new stuff, I know I'm aware of kind of a few, but I just wanted for you to be able to maybe give us a breakdown of which enhancements have you been preparing, planning that are going to be available during the Event Tech Live that you feel are enhancing or are improving the experience for attendees or speakers or even like your partners like vendors, exhibitors. Please give us kind of a few highlights of, like you mentioned, Voxshow with the AI transcriptions and resources. That's one bit, but I want to know, please.
So there's two things that I'll probably, we're doing tons, but there's two things I'd like to mention that I think the ways that we've invested in the show outside of the Exhibitors Act for this year. One is we've invested in creating a feature and a zone within the event that we're dubbing the Meetup Zone. You know, lots of places have these VIP lounges, and it's for supposedly the very important people that come and they just have coffee and hang out and all that kind of stuff. In all honesty, Francisco, we discussed that. We were like, oh, is there value in doing this? And actually, when we looked at it, we felt that we could utilize that space for something much greater, much more impactful, and something much more open to anybody at the event. So what we've done is we've created this meetup zone. We've invested in it with furniture, with AV, basically the same setup that you would have at any other stage or space in the event. But we've offered this and worked with, you know, associations, community groups like yourself, like led by Community, the Media Entrepreneur Meetup. We're working with Women in Events, Women in Event Tech. We're working with a number of community association and industry groups to come in and be able to use the event as a platform and a moment in time to bring their community together and have an opportunity to have a meeting, do a presentation, whatever that might be. And we see value in that. You know, events are these things anyway, but often they take place in a Costa Coffee in the boulevard or somewhere that's kind of off the show floor, or they try and find a cafe or something like that close by. And for me, I want those people to be welcome at the show. So I've invested with my team in creating a space for those people to connect and network. They don't have to choose again. They don't have to go off site to have those meetings. They can use our infrastructure. We put it all there for them with refreshments and all that kind of stuff. And I hope to expand that in the future. You know, it's a first edition for us this year. I'm sure there's going to be lots of good feedback from those organizations, but maybe also things that they think we can improve upon. And I hope to use that as a way to help support our industry come together at these events and have a moment in time to discuss and chat and connect and things like that. Another really, really exciting part of the show is a collaboration with an organization called Braindate. For those that don't know, Braindate are a Canadian-based organization, and they're a blend of technology and service. But what the ultimate goal of Braindate is for the community and the audience to put forward their ideas on topics and discussion points and challenges and things that they want to discuss with their peers in these small informal group conversations to really spark, you know, great conversation. They're not there to present, they're not a speaker, but they want to be involved in the conversation. They want to share their ideas or their troubles. They want to ask others for their advice and things like that. And we're working with Braindate to help curate this. And what it does is basically we have these ambassadors that, first of all, populate with some great ideas and some fantastic topics that attendees can themselves join. And then we open that up closer to the event to all attendees and all exhibitors for them to also put their ideas and their conversations and topics forward. People can add themselves on, and that's all fully visible. So attendees can see what other attendees are on, exhibitors can, sponsors can, and all that kind of stuff. And I've been involved in these Braindates in the past, and genuinely, they're some of the most valuable conversations. While speakers on stage will tell you some amazing things and case studies and stats and reports and all that kind of stuff, how often do you speak about the people around you? Well, you're all there around because of the topic. You're all there because of the same reason. And this is an extension of that. So this is an opportunity for community and audience-led content, which I really do think will become one of those key event design principles in the future for trade shows, to enable their community to get more out of the show on a much smaller format.
Yeah. I love this concept because in the community side, we call them unconferences, where like kind of, hey, we want to talk about this topic and who want to chat about it? Hey, 6 people, 5 people, 4 people, let's sit all together here in this corner, let's chat and break it down and kind of brainstorm together. Okay, boom, solutions. Similar idea. So we have been doing unconferences, and this is kind of micro unconference happening on different sofas in the Braindate area. So I'm really excited for that as well. I would say, like, probably for me this year, the Eventify Live will be like a highlight of the year, because I'm kind of involved in many areas with Eventify, with also ambassador for Braindate and things like that. So yeah, I'm really excited for what is coming.
Eventtech Live comes, at the end of the year, so it's already been a busy year for lots of event professionals, and it's still a busy season even at the moment, right? So we try and place Eventtech Live in November when it starts to ease up a little bit and people have a bit more time. And what we find, or what I find about Eventtech Live, is it's kind of that point in which people kind of start to reset and think about the following year. They want to reconnect with people they haven't seen for months, possibly even longer. So there's that element of it, of people reconnecting, but there's also a real buzz around what can we do in 2026? What can we do the next year? How can we leverage technology to improve our events and do things? And then they go away, they do hard planning in kind of the back end of November, December time, and then start to make those investments and those moves in January, February in the following year. That's what we tend to see, at least anyway.
Love it. You know that probably there was a transition question related to the next year. For instance, like in the B2B side of things, B2B events. Let's think about next year and even beyond. For B2B events specifically, what fundamental assumptions about how we gather and connect do you think need to be challenged? This is an interesting question.
I think it's a conversation that needs to be had at the moment, which is how AI technology and how accessible AI technology is, both from a established company to implement and develop, but also how accessible it is for the attendee, and how adopted already attendees are using ChatGPT or Claude or their own technologies on site. I think there needs to be a conversation about what the event tech landscape looks like over even the short term, the next 2 to 3 years. Will the traditional event app exist? And I honestly don't know, because in terms of me being an attendee, is the first port of call the event website that I go to, or am I just going to ask my chosen LLM, what can you tell me about this event? Is this event right for me? Should I attend? What is the content? What are the sessions? Do you know anything about any of the other attendees? That could be way before I've even stepped foot on the actual event website. Which, if I'm not even going to the event website, then what value have I got if I've already understood as much as I want to about the event and kind of already made my mind up about what I'm doing at that event? What value is there in then for me to download an event app and use that at the event? Because even if I do use that, whatever I do in there is siloed rather than taken away with me with my personal assistant. So I'm gonna hypothesize here. And I would say that maybe the dynamics of things need to change, in which the organizer has their central database of information. That could still be on an event platform, right? It could be all about their sessions, their agenda, their timings, everything about their event. But that is openly accessible to any LLM to be able to feed that information to an attendee's LLM, but also feed some of that information back about what people are looking for and engaging with or favoriting and things like that. But maybe there's an intermediary there as well. Maybe there's an intermediary there that also finesses that for the organizer and is the connector between the attendee and the organizer. I also think that, there's going to be a massive change in the lead capture landscape. Okay. Mm-hmm. So at the moment, most exhibitors, most attendees, things like that, if they want to capture leads at events with other attendees as an exhibitor, they're heavily reliant at the moment on the lead capture license or the lead capture technology that comes with the registration solution. I was actually chatting just yesterday with a fairly what I would call a leader in the space, and the the managing director of that business said, Adam, even I don't think I'll be using the trade show lead capture in the next year. And he wasn't talking about using his own per se. He was just saying, the way that AI technology enrichment now exists is all I need is to be able to take a picture or an image of that attendee badge, and I can use whatever's on there to enrich that data and get whatever I need out of it from a contact perspective.
Yeah.
Now,
like crazy tools like Clay, like you can.
Yeah, Clay, Apollo, Zoom Info, they're even being baked into, CRMs now. And I think that raises a really interesting question, which is, where does the event organizer sit in that in terms of visibility, right? At the moment, part of the value of explaining the value of an exhibition to a potential new exhibitor is giving them statistics around how many leads somebody generated, what the value of those leads were, understanding that with an exhibitor so they can have a conversation with them for the following year saying, oh, well, you told us that, qualified leads to you was worth this much. We can see you've qualified 100 leads. So, based on your conversion rates and what you're talking about, this is going to mean this much business for you. You're surely going to come back next year. But if that managing director is correct, and I have to agree with him, then all of a sudden the event organizer loses all visibility of leads captured at their event.
Yeah.
And that's going to change the landscape again.
Yeah. How to justify a few things in the middle. Yeah.
And it's just that we can as an organizer, we can talk about, the number of people that come to our event, where they come from, what they tell us as well. I also do believe there'll probably be some form of AI tool that will probably go through a registration form. I mean, ChatGPT is probably almost there already in agent mode, that I can say to it, please go and register for Eventtech Live. So if it goes off and registers for Eventtech Live, the question then is that agent inputting accurate information for me as an organizer to be able to understand my audience, or is it just completing the task?
Makes sense.
So that's another interesting one about how the landscape might change.
Accuracy.
Yeah. Accuracy of data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means
I was even sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, it just means we have to think about things differently as event organizers. We can't in the future, I don't think, solely rely on registration data being the source of truth. We have to think about other ways that we can have touch points with our audience and glean small bits of information that we can rely on as being accurate because we understand how they're interacting with that touch point. So, that could be newsletters, it could be websites, it could be polls, it could be quizzes, it could be competitions, it could be other engagement metrics in the lead up to the event, and very small, and just asking them one question or one thing, and we start to build a picture of our attendees and audiences and stuff like that. But to rely on that registration data over the next couple of years could be quite tricky with these tools that could complete these tasks on behalf of our attendees.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I experienced a platform that were kind of tracking the places that each attendee was visiting during the day of the exhibition. So then that data was available, of course, for the person itself, but also for the sponsors and exhibitors as a way to understand the journey of each user and which are what topics are more interested, or which technology each attendee are more interested or lean on. That was really interesting. It probably is more like using micro geo location, more like probably fencing, but it's still one way where you could enrich an attendee profile based on, this attendee visited maybe, I don't know, silent seminar. No, this is not sponsored by Silent Seminar. This is an example, but like maybe Silent Seminar, and then also they visited the Braindate area. Then also they visited maybe a few community talks, part of the program. So you understand, this person is in the events and community, for example, right?
Yeah.
But that can also probably those examples are where we want to go, in the sense of learn more about the attendee rather than just forms and questions that probably Chrome still auto-populating, or even ChatGPT will give us less accuracy. So
yeah. Exactly.
But that is an interesting challenge. That I love this. That we are. It's I would say a nice challenge to have. Like how we can really, like, even though a few things are going to be automated, how we are still able to bring value as organizers to attendees and also our partners in the event. Yes, it's exciting time.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yes. Okay, I have a few other ideas that we want to cover. For instance, how this is more like about your SpeakerStack product, because that is also exciting idea, and I wanted to just check with you and how you came up with the idea, how you spot that there was a need for a tool, that can enable speakers to generate or build this pipeline. How this came up, please?
Yeah, so, I've been a speaker now for probably the last 15 years. And when I first started speaking, it really was with the core aim of just raising profile, right? I had this business, I wanted to raise my own profile. It's a form of marketing. And ultimately, it is a form of lead generation, in a way that people will reach out to you as a speaker after a session, or they see you promoted on an event website or an agenda or something like that. So it's great marketing and visibility for both individuals and the brands or companies they're associated with. But me, myself, I'm not what I would class as a professional speaker. So sometimes I do now, but most of the time I will actually, especially industry events, I will speak at those events for free. I might be lucky enough to be given flights and hotels and things like that to compensate me for the time. But even sometimes I'm doing that myself because I believe in the event, or I'm doing it for a friend or something like that. So actually, these things are costing me money. There needs to be some sort of return. And a lot of those returns are intangible, right? You can't really track them. It's very hard to track them, to say, oh, I spoke at this event, and because of that, this piece of business materialized. You've just got to believe in the investment. And then I looked at our event, and I looked at many other events, and realized that all of these speakers were in very similar positions. They saw the value of speaking. If they're speaking at the right event, ultimately they've identified, or hopefully identified, that that event is full of potential customers or prospects and things like that. People were investing, in some cases, in addition, thousands on stands at these events and things like that. But there was this disconnect. Me, myself, sometimes all I would walk away from the stage was a round of applause, which is fantastic. It's very nice to hear people clap about your session. But I'd have no idea who these people were. And I realized that not only could they be customers, but they could be audience, right? They don't necessarily need to spend money with me, but if I'm building that connection with them, they become audience, they become people that recommend me, they follow me on social media, and all of that helps, right, in terms of marketing channels and things like that. But I couldn't find a compliant way out of the box that would allow me to collect their contact data. And we see it so many events. GDPR is a real thing, and there's data privacy laws in the US, and there's new stuff coming into the European Union as well, which as organizers, really, for me, fundamentally, I believe, restrict us from scanning people into a session and handing that over to a speaker, because the attendees ultimately haven't complicitly agreed for that to happen. Yeah. Most speakers, if they do anything, they'll, share a QR code for their LinkedIn profile and hope people connect up with them there. But there's still no contact information. You don't own any of that as the speaker. And actually, I realized as a speaker that I could actually provide attendees with tons more value at the event by offering them a way to access reports, cheat sheets, templates, documents, past videos, my slides, a whole wealth of things that me and my team invest in curating, but they're all scattered all over the place. They're on websites and Google Drives and all these kinds of things. And again, there was no one way to curate something that would give people access to this, but with the simple value exchange of them providing me their contact details back. Now, don't get me wrong, somebody that's tech savvy, they can probably put a HubSpot form together and a couple of other things and create a QR code here and all that kind of stuff. But that was a bit like hacky and labor intensive, and you really had to know what you're doing. I wanted something that there was zero technical know-how involved. It was a case of, I can sign up to this. It tells me how to upload the content to it. It generates everything that I need automatically, and I can just go on about and do my business. So I created SpeakerStacks selfishly initially to help me do that for myself. And then I started sharing it with a few friends who were speakers, and they were like, this is amazing. This is going to save me, hours and sleepless nights and things like that. And I think for me, the first time I used it, funnily enough, was before launch, and I used it at an event called the AO Forums, which is the Association of Event Organizers here. I was actually co-hosting a session with a lady called Felicia from CVEM, and we just released this report. And I was like, oh, Felicia, do you mind if I put a QR code up at the end of the session? She's like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Report, that's amazing, valuable content to the audience. Da, da, da. I did this session. I went for lunch with Felicia and totally forgot that I'd used my own tool at this event. And I came back and I sat down and watched I started watching the next session. I was like, I wonder if it's worked. I opened my dashboard in SpeakerStacks and I'd collected 75 contact details of the attendees.
Exciting.
That were in there. So the most I've ever captured is something in the region of 300 and something through a virtual event that I spoke at. And now my users are regularly sharing screenshots of their dashboards, 50 pieces of contact collected at Cvent Connect, and 100 over here at another event and things like that. So really that's the story. It was a selfish reason because I couldn't find a solution that was super easily and replicable for me. And I also knew that if I could do that for me, not only did the audience get more value from my session because they got all of this great content, me and my team could hopefully nurture those contact details and those people into customers and actually see a tangible ROI from investing in speaking at these events.
That's great. I love it. It's amazing. I am a subscriber as well, just so you know. Probably I was like the subscriber number 3 or 4.
Like I think you may have even been the first one, Francisco, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh.
First official paid customer.
This is the way. Just so you know that there is something real that you are solving, man. So yes, keep going. Keep thriving. Yes.
Thank you.
So I think that is we have mostly focused this conversation today in the upcoming Eventech Live. We want to unveil all these behind the scenes details that you are always looking after, thinking how we can enhance, improve this. I'm looking forward to the meetups. I think that will be amazing. Not only like because I'm hosting one, but mostly because I want to join others. I want to connect with others now because I'm really into the event industry now, and I just want to learn from others. I'm hungry like for knowledge and connection and make new friends as well. So I would love to stay around. The other bits is if you are an event organizer, this is just a thought maybe you can share. If you're an event organizer planning a major B2B event for 2026 right now, what's the one thing about attendee expectations or event tech they should be thinking about today that they are probably not? It's a bit like a play game question, but you got it? I can repeat.
Do. It's a really, really good. It's a really good question. And I'm going to be honest, Francisco, I don't think I could say something now that somebody's not thinking about out there, right? Because this is one of the greatest things about the events industry. By nature, we are problem solvers, right? We are searching to tweak and finesse and enhance our events constantly. We want to take them to the next level. We want to wow people. We want to give them a better experience. We want to connect more people. We want to give more exhibitors more value and things like that. But I think, I'm going to go back to something that everybody knows in the events industry. And there's this narrative that goes around that being an event planner is one of the top 3-4 stressful jobs in the industry. And I think now has never been a better time to harness technology and software to automate processes, create less friction, and do away with repetitive tasks. If you're copying data from one spreadsheet and one system into another spreadsheet, still, you're doing it wrong. That shouldn't happen. One of the things that I'm going to be working on for next year, in partnership with one of our partners, is trying to reduce emails from our exhibitors. Right? It's the tried or true tested. It's the easiest way people can communicate. It's like, I can't find something immediately, so I'm just going to email Adam or one of Adam's team, because then they're just going to answer me and send me what I need, right? And some of that's no disrespect to any of our exhibitors. They book a stand, they've got daytime jobs, they're doing other things. They've probably got hundreds of emails from other people. They might have missed the one from us that tells them exactly what they need, or they've put it in a folder because they're like, I'm going to come back to that in 3 months when the event is. I don't need to deal with it now, kind of thing.
Guilty.
Yep. And what that creates for me and my team, and we're fully prepared for it around about this time, is a huge influx of emails of people asking for things or asking questions which we have provided information for or resources for already. That's part of it. The events industry is customer service led. I want to be able to get to a point next year where my assistant is the one that they turn to, because my assistant's on 24/7. Anytime they want and anything they need, it can get them to it. And if it can't, it can give it to us and we can get back to them. So there's still that human connection, right? And I know this can be achieved because everything that people are asking for, we have a link for, or a file for, or a document for, or an FAQ
answer, yes,
for, or something like that, right? There is no need actually to email me. And actually, if they want to email, maybe that email is support@eventtechlive.com. And then the assistant emails them back, right? If that's their preferred form of communication, that's absolutely fine. We don't want to change behavior. But I want to drastically reduce those emails, because then it will allow me and my team to really focus on those little 1%, 2% here of improvement that we can do around the event to make it an amazing experience, rather than replying to emails. So that's the thing that I think people should be going into 2026 focus is reduce email fatigue. We get everything into an assistant so people can just ask it as many questions or whatever it needs. And if it doesn't know, it tells you and you can resource for it. So the next person that asks the same question, it's there for them immediately.
Yeah, I love that. I have seen a few emerging tools on that, on the email bit, and also WhatsApp kind of bots that are fed with all the information related to the event, and you can get answers. Yeah, I love that. Well, in the case of exhibitors, they have a specific sensitive information related to their own stand, their own booth, their own link for access and update information. So yeah, it has to be like in the private side, but still a really smart move. I'm really pumped to see how that will look like for next one. So yeah, exciting. So the main point is, I would say, for whoever is planning B2B conferences or events, is like, try to think ahead how you can use AI to simplify your workload, automate whatever is possible, so you can use your time, your valuable time, and keep delivering the goodness. I think that is the lesson today. Yes, I love it. I love it. Adam,
nobody got into the
Sorry.
got into the events industry to be in emails and do admin, right? That's not what we got into this industry for. We got into this industry to create these amazing events, to spend time designing these experiences, creating the content, and putting all those final touches on it. So yeah.
Yes. Having working into something that is very aligned with this idea to simplify the email workflow and all that stuff as well. So yeah, I think that we are kind of heading mine in the same way. So love it. I think that we have covered most of the exciting stuff. I wanted to keep it very Event Tech Live focused, a bit of a few sprinkles of SpeakerStacks, so everyone can be aware of this amazing tool. And of course, just remind everyone that Eventify is all-in-one event management software. You really, even our founder has been sharing on social a letter saying sorry for turn events into something affordable again. It's really affordable. You can have a ton of options for to run your events, to manage the sponsors, matchmaking, and many more in a realistic price that is doable today. Adam, any final words to wrap up today? I would say, well, you already shared an important pro tip, so but maybe any wrapping words before we close today?
I would say on Eventify, if you've not seen them in action, come and check them out at EventTech Live in November, because they are also exhibiting, as well as 100 plus other really great suppliers and providers for the show. A small tip from me already: if you've not tested it out yet, I would really take a look at Atlas, OpenAI's new browser, because if you're using ChatGPT, it means you're not flipping from one screen to another screen, and it can contextually tell what's on your screen. So that's actually already made a huge impact from going, oh, can you tell me about this spreadsheet that I'm working on? Or can you tell me about this document that I'm working on? So I think as event organizers, event planners, browsers like that are going to really, really ramp things up for us. So yeah, thank you very much, Francisco, for having us on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And thanks for Eventify for having me on as well.
That's great. That's great. I already set Atlas as default 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I said everywhere, like on the Mac, on the laptop at home, everywhere, just to like get used to. I'm still ranting that they don't have yet an option to choose where to place the downloads. So I already sent the feedback, but the rest is working as expected. No, the rest is working as expected. Adam, thank you so much, my friend. And thank you everyone for listening today. Bye-bye.
Bye.